Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Cult of the Dead Dove podcast. Today, I'm joined with special guest, Alec. Say hello.
Hi.
Hi. So it is a bonus today because I will be doing a story and Alec will be doing a story. So congrats to everybody listening.
Yes.
Yes. Who wants to start? Do you want to rock, paper, scissors for it?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Okay, I'm going first.
That was so chaotic and stressful.
So.
Okay. Before we start, trigger warning. We're talking about explicit and violent content. You've been warned.
Yeah.
Go for it.
All right. I am talking about the soap maker of Corrego. I don't know how to pronounce it. Italian. Anyways, so
I didn't know this was an Italian story.
Leonarda Centulli. She was born in Montella, Alveno in Italy in 1893.
I'm
A severely depressed child tried to die twice.
She tried to kill herself?
In her childhood.
Why?
Because she was depressed?
I guess. Well, I didn't know if, maybe her father was, an alcoholic.
Oh,
or,
no.
A usual. She was just
Not
sad.
really. She's just sad.
Same. Just kidding. Okay. I'm fine.
Okay, so at the age of 24, she got married to this registry office clerk named Raffaella, and that was in 1917. And so her parents were like, dude, we had a guy for you to marry. And she's like, but I love Raffaele. And then they were like, no. And so her and Raphael pieced out.
Let me translate. Let me back up and translate.
We're backing it up.
Okay, so her parents had an arranged marriage for her, but
not necessarily. They just didn't like the guy that she married.
I mean, he is what?
His name's Raffaele.
What's his job?
He's the registry office clerk.
Yeah, that's boring. So
it was the late 1800s, early 1900s.
I stand by what I said.
Well, no, it was it was 1917.
So then they eloped.
Well, yeah, so they eloped, and her parents, didn't like this guy. And so Leonardo was convinced that her mother had cursed the two of them. So they decided to move to Raffaelle's hometown of Lauria,
Italy, in Italy. Town. In Italy, place.
in the city, Lauria. Leonardo.
In the city.
Was sent to jail for fraud.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she was sent to jail for fraud in
1927. Of what?
They had been married for 10 years.
Who did she fraud?
Monetary fraud. She
what does that even mean?
She faked checks and stuff.
Oh, okay. You know what? She was just trying to get that paper. What are you gonna do in the 1900s if you're a woman? Nothing.
So,
that's the answer.
When she was released, she moved to Lancedonia, Alveno with Raffaele, except an earthquake said nope. And so they moved again.
That's quirky.
To Corrego Rego Emilia, which is...
I don't know. You're doing a really good job, though.
Oh, thanks. Anyways, Leonardo opened a small shop, and everyone was like, oh my god, we love you. You're such a vibe.
What's the shop? What did she
I don't even know.
She just
There's
had a
no
shop.
information. She just had a storefront.
Oh, that's cute. What do you sell in the 1900s?
Sewing material.
Shoes.
So, anyways, very important to the story.
I'm scared.
In the years of her marriage, she was pregnant 17 times.
Oh, that's
but
so stressful.
Only 4 of the kids survived.
How many babies did she physically give birth
10.
to? That is way too many children. And then only 4 lived? That's so sad. Also, imagine being pregnant 17 times.
I can't even imagine being pregnant once. In 1939, her oldest son, Giuseppe, wanted to join the Italian army to fight in World War II.
Yes.
But Leonardo was like...
World War II is in the 1930s.
You're so stupid. But Leonardo was like, oh my god, I don't want my favorite son, to die.
I think it's kind of mean that she has a favorite. Do you think the other 3 are like, Giuseppe's not even that cool. He can't even do anything, so he's gonna go fight in the army. What? Mom? And she's like, no, I don't care about you guys, actually, so.
Anyways.
She
decided the only way to protect his safety was to perform a human sacrifice.
That seems like a perfectly reasonable response.
Yep.
You're telling me that's not what you do if you're under stress and you want to protect someone? I immediately go to human sacrifice.
She picked 3 middle-aged to older women to take the role of her human sacrifice. So her first victim was named Fosina Seti. She was a spinster, so she was the single lady. Single lady in the 40s?
She has no worth.
Oh my god, a single lady in the 40s who doesn't have a husband?
What? Well, they do. Well,
she doesn't have kids.
It's implied by single lady that she wouldn't have a husband.
She doesn't have kids either. She's never been married.
Oh, so she's worthless to us.
So, Leonardo was like, hey, there's this guy in Pola that you can marry.
And she's like, me?
Yeah.
A lonely old spinster woman? No one wants to marry me. She's like Debbie Ryan the whole time.
So Fosina was like, oh, really? And then Leonardo was like, yeah, you should write postcards to your entire family saying that you're going to move to Pola. And so she did.
People had way too much trust. If you were like, I have a man for you, write letters to him, I'd be like, no.
She didn't even write letters to him. She wrote letters to her.
Write letters to your family about
saying that you're going to go marry this guy.
And I'd be like, no.
And so Leonardo was like, oh, before you leave to Pola, stop by my house.
Come and see me.
We'll drink some celebratory wine.
We're going to party.
Yeah, that wine was drugged.
Don't do that, kids.
And then she killed her with an axe.
That's just such a 180. Come party, yay!
So, she chopped her body into 9 pieces and let her...
9?
Mm-hmm. Specifically 9. So, she put her blood in a basin, you know, like the slaughterhouse thing where they, like, drain the blood from the body.
Like a pig.
Gross. And then, put her, like, flesh into a pot and added caustic soda, which is, like, that stuff that you make soap with.
I don't like the word flesh. I don't like you saying she put her flesh in a pot while looking into my eyes.
Okay, so, once it, like, you know, broke down and stuff, she poured it into the nearby septic tank to get rid of it.
Ew.
And then, the blood?
Oh, in the basin, like a pig? Yeah, I do know, thank you. These are the reminder.
She let it coagulate and then put it in the oven to dry.
Oh my god.
And then, mixed it with some ingredients to make lovely tea cakes.
No.
That she proceeded to give to her neighbors.
I'm gonna die.
And her son, as well as eating some herself.
Oh my god, I'm gonna vomit. That doesn't, how do you even measure it out so that you can make tea cakes?
Well, no, she put it into flour, sugar.
Yeah, I know. How do you know how much of
the blood to add?
Human blood to add?
I don't know. Yeah, she ate the tea cakes herself as well.
No.
So,
and isn't this all to protect her son?
Yeah, it's a human sacrifice
that doesn't make
situation.
Any sense. Where did she read this?
How to
Perform a Human Sacrifice 101. It's a book in the library.
How to prepare human tea cakes.
My favorite cookbook. Cannibalism for beginners.
Anyways, so, apparently, like, supposedly, from selling all of her stuff and the money that she had, Falsina pay her for, going to see the mans. She got $30,000 from this lady. In today's money, that's like $700,000.
So, I'm just confused. How did she get the money from the lady that she sent?
Well, first she was like, oh, let me, I'll buy you your, like, train ticket and...
Oh.
And then also,
I'll plan your whole wedding for you.
Well, she's like, I'll pay for, your train ticket and stuff. And then after she died, she basically, since she didn't have family, it was life insurance.
She was like, she was my best friend, and like, I guess we'll give you the money, I don't know.
Well, because she was like the closest thing to family.
Insurance policies and
also, not to mention, she sold literally everything the woman owned. So, the second victim is Francesca Soavi. Leonardo said at the time that she had, like, the woman had been working in an all-girls school in Pienza, but, she was, like, a man. And Francesca was like, oh my god, me getting married? So, she persuaded her to do the same thing, write postcards saying that she was going to go to Pola.
These?
And then come visit Leonarda before she left.
Yeah, no, don't do that.
And give her some celebratory wine.
Oh,
and then chop, chop, chop.
No.
Yeah, she gave her the same treatment as Focina, and she gained about $3,000 from her death.
She wasn't as good.
Well, because she didn't get the insurance policy.
Who got it? Who would get it?
Her parents were. She was younger.
Oh, her
parents were still alive. She was probably
21, and everyone was like, "You're a spinster. You haven't gotten married yet."
The third victim's name was Virginia Cacioppo. She was a singer. She used to be like a soprano in the opera. Ooh. But at the time of her death, she was working as a secretary.
That's really sad. That's a very Italian thing, I feel.
So, with this woman, instead of her getting married, she was actually told to tell nobody where she was going. Don't write postcards, don't do any of that shit. So, the way she was murdered was the same, except, instead of disposing her remains into a septic tank, Leonarda used her body to make soap, which she gave to her neighbors.
No. She said,
quote, this is a real quote from her.
I don't want it.
She ended up in the pot, like the other two. Her flesh was fat and white. When it had melted, I added a bottle of cologne, and after a long time on the boil, I was able to make some most acceptable creamy soap. I gave the bars to neighbors and acquaintances. The cakes, too, were better. That woman really was sweet.
I don't like that they're creamy bars of soap. I want to cry. How do you make soap? How do you know how to do that out of a person?
Well, it's like they would use lard.
What's that?
But this is a person instead.
Ew!
So instead of like a pig.
Is soap still made out of fat?
No, I don't think so.
Because
well, some might be, but like not usual like soap that you get.
I'm really uncomfortable with like thinking this through.
Anyways,
no.
So guess how much money was stolen from this woman?
$3.
$50,000.
Oh, okay, like a good amount.
So, but after these murders, Leonarda's sister was like, why are there women who keep coming into your store and then not leaving? And Leonarda's like, I don't know what you're talking about. What?
There's a back door for a reason.
And Leonarda's sister ended up going to the police and being like, hey, I think my sister might be a murderer.
What a snitch.
And so the police were like, let's go to this little shop and go investigate this lady.
40, there's nothing else to look at, I guess.
So she was arrested. And they were like, did you kill them? And she was like, no.
No.
I didn't kill them.
Never.
What? I'm not going to confess to anything. But then they were like, oh, maybe Giuseppe's involved. And then she was like, nope, just kidding. I killed all of them. I want to protect my favorite son. Gotta protect my favorite son.
Did he like find out what happened? Was he, what was his response? I want to know the moment that they're like, oh, by the way, your mom's in prison.
He would probably be like, yeah, okay.
She's like, yeah, she's
kind of wacky.
She's kind of whack. She like kept feeding me these tea cakes. It was so weird. Tasted funky.
Anyways.
She
ended up being tried for murder and found guilty.
Oh.
Sentenced to 30 years in prison and 3 years in a criminal asylum. She ended up dying in the asylum in 1970.
I feel like in 1970? God,
yeah.
That's like so close. I don't like how close that is.
It's 30 years.
Also, only 30 years?
30 years in prison?
Is such a short amount of time for murdering 3 people.
Some guys who rape people only get 3 months.
Oh, and that's the tea, everybody.
Anyways, that's my story. I hope you enjoyed.
I hated every second of it.
I am so glad.
Wow, I'm like uncomfortable and I never want to eat a tea cake in my life. And also,
have you even had a tea cake in your life?
No, I don't even know what that is. So,
it's just a little cake that you have at tea time.
I don't drink tea. What am I, British? Are you British? Do you eat tea cakes? Do you eat bloody tea cakes? We're going to change the subject and talk about a family murder.
Oh, God.
Welcome. Today we're talking about the Watts family murder.
Oh. I've never heard of this.
From 2018.
Jesus.
Takes place in Colorado. And This story is from a documentary that just came out on Netflix called American Murder, The Family Next Door. And we are focusing on Christopher Lee Watts, who we call Chris, and
Christopher.
Shannon. Not Shannon. Shannon. Catherine Watts. Yeah, I don't like it either.
Can somebody please
Can
not do
someone
that?
undo that name? No offense, like
No offense to
no
anyone
offense.
named Shannon,
but get a new name. Okay, so they were married for 6 years at the time of the crime, and they had 2 daughters, Bella and Celeste, who went by Cece. Also, I love the name Celeste, and I also kind of hate it at the same time.
Me too.
So they lived in a nice 5-bedroom house in Colorado. And one thing that the documentary never touched on was the fact that they declared bankruptcy in 2015, but that's important. So you're going to keep that at the forefront of your mind.
In the forefront.
All right. Chris, and I accidentally wrote Christ.
Jesus.
Worked at a petroleum place. He worked at Anadarko Petroleum. Don't know what that is. It's an oil company. And Shannon, Shannon the Mannon, was an independent representative. I'm pretty sure the place that she worked was like a pyramid scheme.
Oh, no.
But that's not important. And at the time of her story, keep in mind, she is pregnant with a son who they plan on naming Nico. Okay. After returning from a business trip to Arizona, Shannon, I can't even say her name. Her friend Nicole, spelled Nickole, dropped her off around 2 a.m. on August 13th.
Can I just say one thing?
You may.
Nicole's parents probably really wanted a boy named Nick.
Oh.
And then they just added the
add
O-L-E
O
at the end.
R.I.P. Nicole. She's not dead, but, you know. At this time, Chris was home with the girls, so she gets dropped off. She goes in.
Oh, no. Should I be worried?
Oh, you should be very worried.
Oh, God.
This gets really bad.
Oh, no.
Shannon and the girls were reported missing later that same day by Nicole because Shannon had not gone to her OBGYN appointment. Oh, she was not texting back. She was not calling back. And then she missed a business meeting, and finally they're like, something's wrong. We need to go look. So Nicole went to the Watts home around 12:10 p.m. after not getting any response. She, knocked on the door, all the doors. Thank you for the sound effect. She rang the doorbell. Nothing. So she's like, okay, something is really wrong. So she calls Chris, who then called the police department. The police show up and did a welfare check around 1:40. And they walk around the house. Nobody's home. No one is there. There's no sign of a struggle. There's no sign of anything. Oops, sorry. Didn't mean to hit you. Her phone was turned off, and it was there. Granger. My dog is in the room, too. He's just chilling. He likes it. Her keys were still there. Her car is still in the garage.
Oh, God.
Her medication is in her purse. And her wedding ring is on the bedside table. And this just sounds really sad. I was reading the article about it, and they're like, even the kids' car seats were still in the car. And I was like, I don't know why that's really sad, but it is. And they're especially worried because she used to have leukemia. Editing J here. So, she did not have leukemia. She had lupus. That's my bad. And the medication that she had, she took for migraines. Just to clear things up, back to the original episode.
But she's pregnant?
And she's also pregnant.
I didn't know that's how... Okay.
What?
I didn't think that could happen.
Well, she wasn't supposed to have kids. They're like, you can't have kids. And then she had 2 and then 1 on the way. And she's like, yes, I can. Also, what's really sad is, she was on Facebook a lot. So there are all these videos of her, talking about her past and, her kids and stuff. And, with her husband, it's, really messed up. Okay, so, things move fast from here. Mm-hmm. The next day, the 14th, the FBI joined the investigation. Because they have no idea where this woman is. There's not a note. There's no trace. So, Chris told the police that he had no idea where his wife and kids were.
I have no idea where my wife and kids are.
Liar. And he even did some interviews for, like, the local stations, pleading for them to return. Bastard.
That motherfucker.
He told the police he had not seen his wife since 5:15 on the 13th when he left for work.
I do not trust this man.
All right. So they did a search of his home with cadaver dogs. Good boys. The only police I believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And the house was super clean and orderly. And in the footage, they're like, it's like too clean in here. Because think about it. They're like 2 working parents with 2 younger kids.
Oh.
It's like spick and span. And they're like, something's off. So they arrest him on the 15th. And he fails a polygraph test.
Well, polygraph tests aren't reliable, though. They've been disproven.
That's fair. But he, like, big time failed it.
Oh.
And they're questioning him, and this lady who gave him the polygraph test was like, we know you're lying. Like, you can just tell us the truth. Like, I know you want to. And they try and question him. He's like, I don't know anything. So he's like, I want to talk to my dad. And they're like, okay. Now, of course, they've got cameras going. And his dad sits down, and he's like, do you know anything? And Chris is like, sitting like this. And he's like, I killed them. And his dad is like, what?
Pardon me?
I feel so bad for the dad. Because I was like, what do you do in that situation? Your son is sitting there. What are you looking at?
You. I'm looking at your hair.
Oh. Like, your son is sitting across from you in, being questioned for murder.
Yeah.
And you're like, he didn't do it, right?
He couldn't have done it.
He's
my
such
perfect
a good
son.
boy. And then
He's my Giuseppe.
He's my Giuseppe. And he's like, I killed them.
Oh, shit.
And he says, this is what he said happened to his dad. He's like, she had a fit of rage, and she strangled the 2 kids. Which I'll talk about later. And so, like, he killed her in a fit of rage moment because he... Right? Yeah, that was my reaction, too. I was like, oh, my God. So, he had claimed... This was his story. So, the factual part is he was having an affair. And he wanted to separate.
Ooh.
And then the story about how he killed his wife, strangled his wife, in response to her killing them, and then brought all the bodies to a remote oil storage site where he worked 45 minutes away.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Here's what really happened.
Oh, God.
So, in their marriage, the documentary dives more into it. If you guys want to watch it, it's really good. But they talk way more about, like, their sex life.
Ew.
And, yeah, it's...
I don't want to hear about
Actually, it's, like, the lack of. So maybe that will... Same.
I don't want to hear about straight people.
So they discussed their quote-unquote unhealthy sex life, which is just they didn't have sex. Like, that was it. And, like, a fight between Shannon and her mother-in-law regarding Cece's allergies. It didn't make sense. I watched it a couple times, and I was like, I don't really know what's happening. I can't even say Shannon anymore. Shannon allegedly never wanted to see, like, her in-laws again. So there was a lot of tension in the marriage. But, obviously, Chris lied. And the case ended up being considered a family annihilation case, which are always fun.
Yeah.
This case was rare because according to former FBI profiler Candice DeLong, fun name, family annihilators usually commit suicide right after the murders. So his was rare.
Yeah.
Because he, if you didn't know, he killed his wife and kids. Haha. He strangled them to death.
Oh.
I have a quote about what happened that I'll read in a second, but I do want to dive into family annihilation, because it's kind of interesting. It's really fucked up.
It really is.
But it's interesting. So, do you know about it?
I do.
Do you know how to describe it?
It's like, basically, they're just such... It's either they're psychopaths, or they just decide they want out of this marriage, and they're like, this is the only way. So then they just proceed to kill everybody and either leave or kill themselves as well.
Yes. And then there's also
the Doomsday Call aspect.
Oh.
Where they're like, I have to save my family because the Lord, he's a-coming.
The accent was perfect. So, essentially, there's also, and I think this is kind of that one too, where I think he felt trapped in the marriage, and also sometimes, generally men will see their families as an extension of themselves, so their failure, like his own failure regarding something, normally money, is like he needs to protect them from that. So the only way to protect them is to kill them. That's like,
not how that works.
It's not, but it's how a lot of these go. So I think the bankruptcy might have pushed him a little bit over the edge if he's already struggling with the marriage. I told you it was important. All right, this is really sad. On an interview with my good pal, Dr. Phil.
Dr. Phil!
Chris's lawyer claimed that he confessed to killing Shannon after an argument regarding divorce. You good? Okay. During the murder, Bella walked in. By the way, these are, like, little kids.
Aww.
They're, like, under the ages of 8. Little.
Oh, God.
So,
damn it, Chris.
His little daughter walks in while he is murdering his wife. Like, strangling her. And then he just says, oh, she's sick. Like, leave.
The fuck?
Leave the room. And this poor child is like, okay. So then he loads... Hi, bud. That's my dog. Okay, so he loads Shannon's body, and he loads the girls, who are still alive at this point.
Oh, God.
Into the backseat of his work truck. Without car seats. Later on, he smothers his own kids with a blanket.
No.
So he dumps Shannon's body in a shallow grave, and he dumps the girls into the oil containers through a small, like, hole in the top. Because you can climb up them and then, open it to check on it. So but it's filled with oil. They're like babies. So, obviously, this moves really fast, because on August 21st, he was charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder, an additional charge of death of a child who had not yet attained 12 years old, and the defendant was in position of trust. Never heard of that, but he got 2 counts of those.
Meaning he basically manipulated his own child because they trusted them.
Well, I know, but I've never heard of it before. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
It's a very sad thing that has to, like,
but
be in the legal system.
It still do be interesting, though.
Unlawful termination of a pregnancy, because she was pregnant and they were planning on keeping the baby. And 3 counts of tampering with the deceased human body. So his bail was set at $5 million. And on September 1st, he posted $750,000 and was released pending legal proceedings. What do you even do?
Don't release... He killed 3
what
and
do
a
you
half
even
people.
do? Okay, finally he pleaded guilty to the charges on November 6th. And this I thought was interesting as well. The death penalty was not put forward because of Shannon's family requested. They're like, we don't want any more deaths, so no. And I was like, oh.
Well, I mean, I don't believe in the death penalty, so...
Well, yeah, but I was like, oh, it's kind of nice. Yeah, that's, like, oddly sweet of them.
He's like...
They're like, no, I hate him, but don't kill him, I guess.
They're like, you don't have to kill him.
You don't have to kill him, but, like,
we want him to suffer in prison.
We want him to rot in a jail cell forever. And that's how I feel.
We really do need to reform our prison system.
Yes, we do. Let's take a moment to talk about our prison system.
It fucking sucks. Okay, back to murder.
On November 19th, he was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. Also, there was, like, an extra 30 years on top of that and an extra 20 years on top of that for a couple other charges sprinkled on. So he's never getting out of prison.
Okay.
And he is currently at the Dodge Correctional Institute, a high maximum security prison in Wisconsin, and he will be there until he dies.
Nice.
So that's the podcast for today.
Very good.
We had some cannibalism.
Some soap.
Some soap. Some family annihilation.
Some dog.
Some dogs. Some doggo content. I need to read off my list of things. Okay. Thank you, everybody, for listening.
Sources I used were Wikipedia, Murderpedia, and serialkillers.org.
Thank you. I used Wikipedia and also American Murder, The Family Next Door documentary on Netflix. If you want to follow the podcast, we have Instagram at The Cult of the Dead Dove, Twitter at Dead Dove Cult, or you can email us at, I think it's just Cult of the Dead Dove Podcast at gmail.com. Is there anything you would like to plug for yourself?
Follow my band on Instagram and Spotify. We are Crowd of 30. 30 is spelled out instead of just the numbers. And then my main account on Instagram is zombie.hound, and I do guitar covers.
Yeah, he does. He's got a band. He's a cool kid. And
I would
newly
disagree.
single. And a minor, so watch yourself.
I am 15 years old.
Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, take care of yourself, and remember, don't eat the dead dove. Bye!